In this video, I want to talk to you about bonding, how to prepare for bonding to build capacity. When you start your business, if you did it like me, you might have had a circumstance that pushed you into starting a company. And perhaps you didn't have the funding or the funding that you believe is necessary in order to get bonding capacity, a capacity that allows you to grow fast. In my case, that's what happened. I was forced to start a company, not forced by anybody, but by my own feelings inside of me. What what was going on in my life with my kids and a change in one of their lives. They had gotten they were accepted to a school that was a very great school in Miami, close to an area that was not safe, in my opinion, but 35 miles away from home. So, because of that, and I was single, I felt like I needed to quit my job and start my company. And that's what I did. I quit my job and decided that was the moment to start. Look, for years, I had already passed the general contractor exam. Probably, I think it was 10 years. But when I finally decided to do it, that I called to get the company, to get the license activated, 2 days before that license, the timing I had to activate the license, and I don't recall really well how many years was that. I have to go back and see from the time I took the test to the time I actually certified the company. I want to say 8 years, but it was the pain of seeing one of my childs go through pain, a possibility, because I wasn't sure. But in my head, it was going to create a lot of suffering for her or for me. So I had a lot of anxiety around what can happen to her. And I finally decided to quit my job. So the security that I had in my job was not anymore enough to keep me there. But the pain of having something happen to her was bigger than the pain of not having security of financial security anymore. So I put on my faith in the company, in my capacity to love, because I really believe it's either fear or love. We move through love, and fear is what stops us. And so I start the company in paper, but I don't quit my job right away. She goes ahead and gets registered in this school, prominent school in Miami, and it was a great opportunity for her. I didn't want to stop her, but it was scary. Every time she had to go in the bus at 5 a.m., and every time she had to take the train to downtown Miami around the homeless people. Nothing wrong, nothing against them, but it felt very insecure for a child, 15-year-old girl. And so that thought was constant in my head as I drove from home to my job that was already 50 miles away from my house. So it was challenging and very stressful, leaving them feeling guilty. I'm sure some of you might have felt that. I don't think it's one of the worst feelings, right? Feeling guilty for not being able to be there if something was were to happen to your kids. So I started the company in paper, but I finally quit the job 8 months later, 9 months later, because it was unbearable. And when I quit the job, I had no work, nothing for sure, but I had a lot of peace. That I can assure you. Now, you don't go to the bonding company and say, give me a bonding capacity because I have peace, because I have a great why on why I want to do this company. It's not what makes a bonding company give you credit. And so what they want is, in my head, I can't get bonding, but I knew I needed to get work. And without bonding, it's very difficult to obtain work, government work, which is what I was used to. So I had to break a lot of beliefs around this process. But it was something that I did one step at a time. And I'm just coming back with memories. Bonding is not something that is built with time, but bonding requires credit. It requires collateral. It requires experience. It requires all kinds of capacity. And it's built around credit, capacity, and collateral. They say the three C's of bonding. You want to build your bonding based on those three things, and then you want to build your bonding based on protection for your own company, and then you want to build bonding over time. If you don't create a strategy along the journey of your company for bonding, it's going to be very hard to build sustainable growth in the business. It's going to be very hard. So you want to really make sure that you are finding a way to build protection, which means assure that you're completing projects on time and on budget, because bonding also protects the client. Protects the client from you not finishing on time or on budget. So it really is kind of a way to make you do what you're supposed to do and creating some leverage with the GC. The owner has leverage over the GC when the bonding is provided. If there's no bonding, there's very little leverage. And it happens also to a general contractor when the general contractor is doing subcontracting work. Hiring subcontractors. If you don't have leverage if you don't have bonding. So it's a very great incentive because the bonding protects the client. And it protects the general contractor when they provide bonding to the trade partners, to the subcontractors. So you can tell how sophisticated a company is based on the capacity they have. Because you can get bonding not too difficult. It's not difficult to get bonding if you are just starting. If you have credit, if you have clean credit and you have experience, they're going to give you a minimum of $250,000 bonding capacity. And also there's a way around that because many municipalities have contracts that are set aside for a company that is just starting to build credit, to build bonding. They set them up at 200, for example. If this contract is $200,000 or less, they won't require bonding. Some municipalities organize themselves around the idea of finding ways or allowing opportunities for companies that are just starting. It's just kind of like a small business program. So getting initial bonding is not difficult. The key here is maintain it along the journey of your company. And many things can prevent you from growing the company, but the one that prevents you the most is your capacity of collateral, of capital, and bonding. So collateral will help your bonding, and your capacity as a company, capacity to perform, will build also your bonding capacity and the history on how you have completed projects, how you have, I think about this stuff and I remember the things I have gone through, we have gone through as a company along 19 years around this topic of bonding. And it's painful, I have to say, because we could have, I wish somebody would have told me this when I started. I wish somebody would have told me, make sure you really take good care of your bonding line. Make sure that you say no to projects that are not good for you. Make sure that you deliver on the contract. But more than anything, because we've always delivered on a contract, even if we lose money, make sure you don't do change order work without an approval. I think that has to be one of the worst things. Make sure that you don't approve, you don't perform on work that is not in the contract, that you won't have the capacity to bill for on time. Because bonding companies, they look very much at what they call underbillings. So cost incurred, but that you have yet to bill. And a lot of times, the reason why you haven't billed is because you can't bill. Because if the change order has not been entered in the contract by the client, in other words, if it's not approved, they cannot increase the contract on their end to pay you more money. And a lot of times, it's just they just don't honor it, even if they told you to do it. So we a lot of times believe in a promise. So it's of course it's been a painful experience, but it's been one that God used for us to really decide that we couldn't do it anymore. And it was so hard. Sometimes, you have your CPAs to tell you, don't do change order work, don't do change order work, don't do, and it's one after the other, but we don't hear them because our ego is higher than you can't listen to that advice because you want to have more, you have more contracts. It just feels better. But the reality is that what should feel better is more profits, because profitability will build your bonding capacity. And the other thing I want to leave with you here is that your bonding capacity, as you take care of these items that we talked about, is going to be built over time, because there's no way you will be perfect tomorrow when you start, unless you have a mentor, unless you have somebody that is mentoring you. And even then, nothing in life is the same. So we go through life cycles. So businesses are going to go through challenges, and business is a spiritual journey. We learn so much about ourselves, our emotions, what drives us, what makes us happy, what makes us afraid. Business is a spiritual journey. I say spiritual because these things that we feel inside of us, they are not in a book, and every person has their own story. So bonding is if you could find a way to create a process in your company, not only around how to process a bond, right, request a bond, but how to build your bonding capacity. That will organize your company so much and structure your company that would really allow you to become more sophisticated as you desire to scale and expand. The bonding, even if you don't use it, and if you I've seen so many companies that they are not bondable. And bondable is a term that we ask them, trade partners, for example, or how much bonding capacity do you have? That question gives people the frame of reference of your expertise and your capacity. And you want to be bondable. Some people are afraid of that. Some people don't want to go through the paperwork. They feel it's too much work, but that is what's going to get your company to the next level. The very same thing that we don't want sometimes is the very same thing that I want to say God uses for us to advance in this life journey that we have in any area of our lives, whether it's our personal life, whether it's our business life, our health, any challenge that we have, any obstacle that we have. Many times we run away from the obstacle or the challenge, but it is in the challenge that we get transformed, and it's the challenge that makes us who we really are. So my suggestion is, if you haven't considered bonding, or if you haven't really set up a system in place to get it to the sophistication, the level of sophistication and detail necessary for you to scale, to get more bonding, make it a practice to measure it. That is going to be a great measure for you to be a successful company. Make sure that you don't lose the money that you make, and make sure that you actually enjoy the process. Less stress, more bonding will create, if done correctly, less stress in your life. So I hope this serves you, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for listening. Until the next time. Oh, by the way, my team is going to say, I got to suggest you. I did a book. I created a book. I always forget to share that there is a book that it's in the link that you could read to get more knowledge. It's in English and Spanish about these stories, these nuggets, these lessons that I have learned the hard way. So if available, if you are craving knowledge and you want to learn, please grab a copy of the book and let us know what you think. Until the next time, thank you.